Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here on Dangerous Storm Hurricane Sally. I know it's only a Category 1, but we're going to be seeing historic flash flooding here and still some point life-threatening storm surge at the 6 feet storm surge here. So it's going to be really extremely dangerous for obviously areas who weren't ready for the storm like this. But it's actually starting to get an eye right now, so it's really seems like maybe it's trying to intensify a little bit more before landfall here, but it is moving north at 2 miles an hour. It's still overseas, and it still has a few hours, multiple hours until landfall, but we're already starting to feel the effects up to the coast. We're already seeing up to tropical storm force winds for portions of the Gulf Coast, including Florida all the way up to Louisiana. We're already seeing extremely heavy rain and actually already major flooding threats across areas of the the Gulf Coast already. We're already seeing a lot of flooded roads, and it has not even made landfall yet. This is going to be a very slow-moving storm, which is why it's going to be such dangerous, because we can be seeing, guys, up to 25 plus inches of rain in a matter of 24 hours. That is just mental. That's going to cause major threats, and that's going to make trees be able to fall easier and faster. So we're going to be seeing widespread power outages, extremely dangerous flooding. It's going to be even dangerous flooding as far inland as portions of the Carolinas. We can be seeing over some areas of up to 10 inches of rain, and even tropical storm wind gusts as far as my area. So even inland areas could lose power from this and see some pretty big flooding threats. But without further ado, let's get this video on Hurricane Sally. So let's go ahead and check a look at Sally. As you see, it's at 80 miles an hour, so it actually has weakened 20 miles an hour since my last video here. It seems like there's a chance that it could actually be strengthening maybe a little bit more until landfall. It could maybe reach 85 or 90 miles an hour before landfall. I think that's possible, because it is starting to organize a lot more. It really closed off the eye. Kind of the eye wall fell apart earlier today, but it seems like it's going to gain back its strength and organization and structure. It seems like it is trying to do that. It is interacting with land. It's moving so slow. It's very close to the coast, but it still has multiple hours until landfall because it's moving so slow, which could be the reasoning of that weakening, because it's kind of interacting with land, even though it hasn't made landfall yet. But moving north at 2 miles an hour, and it's at 979 millibars. I do think, guys, there's a chance maybe it could strengthen at maybe 5-10 more miles an hour and then make a landfall. But I most likely won't be a Category 2 for landfall, a Category 1. But really, you guys can't just focus on the strength here. We're going to be seeing extremely dangerous flooding, and still going to be seeing some potential areas life-threatening storm surge, depending on obviously your age and your height. But really, at the 6 foot storm surge, and if you add on maybe up to 2 to 3 feet of rain, that could be 9 feet of water, and that's basically unsurvivable. So it's really you can't really just think about the strength in the category. You gotta think about the storm surge and the rain. In this case, guys, the rain and flash flooding could be one of the most primary threats. It's usually storm surge and it's usually the winds, but this time the flash flooding could be one of the probably tied with the primary threats, tied with storm surge. It's going to be really it's going to be dangerous flash flooding, and that's going to obviously weaken the root systems in trees, which will make it easier for trees to fall down. So trees can be down all the way from the Gulf Coast up to the Carolinas and the Appalachians. So we can very well see for far damage as far inland as areas at Atlanta, as far inland as my area, as far inland as areas in South Carolina. Definitely be seeing effects. Even though it's going to be a tropical depression by that point, it's still going to bring in up to 10 inches of rain, and obviously maybe 40 or 50 mile an hour gusts, which can easily take down trees. So here's looking now at the radar, and as you see, it's actually, like I said, it's trying to get its structure back together. It seems like it's definitely trying to really close off that eye wall completely again, kind of make it a lot more defined, and possibly try to get an eye. It could very well be the process of trying to get an eye. I'm not saying it's going to get one. I'm saying it's trying to. But look at all that rain. I mean, this thing's moving 2 miles an hour to the north, and it's right here. I mean, that still has plenty of time over water. I mean, this landfall could be delayed way into tomorrow morning here. I mean, look at this. This is going to bring in major flooding threats. 3 feet 30 inches of rain is actually possible. This is going to be historic flooding, flash flooding, just historic, and add without the storm surge, and it could be in portions unsurvivable conditions with the water so high. But look at this. I mean, as far as Montgomery's seeing the effects right now, Tallahassee and portions of central and southern Georgia, but look, really extremely heavy rain for Pensacola and the Panhandle, extremely heavy rain for Mobile and southern Alabama. It's gonna be like this for a while. I mean, we're even seeing outer bands bringing rain for Tampa Bay. I mean, this is a very widespread rainmaker, and since it's moving 2 miles an hour, guys, 2 miles an hour, this is going to increase the threat for flooding by far. This is obviously going to make it a bigger primary threat here, and this is just going to cause a lot of damage. And obviously, the more the rain, guys, the better the chance trees can fall. Like, even without winds, they can just fall just because the soil is so wet. So yeah, it has weakened 20 miles an hour. Yes, it's only a category 1, but 80 miles an hour, guys, with those super duper weak and wet soil, because it's going to be up to 30 inches of rain, just pure rain. That's going to make it extremely easy and simple to take down trees, which will take down power and possibly even even go into houses and cars. I mean, obviously, the most deaths by hurricanes are storm surge and flooding and trees falling down. So really, I know it's weakened, but still the threat is extremely high because it's slowing down, causing more rain, which will make the soil a lot more durable and really moist and wet and just a weaker soil. And that's going to make it super easy for them to fall down. So here's look now at the RI. And as you see, it's definitely trying to get its structure back. It definitely is. It's looking a lot better. It's definitely obviously got the eye wall kind of trying to circle up almost to the point where maybe it's trying to get a little bit of an eye here. I mean, it's trying to, and you're going to definitely see it on satellite imagery here if this actually pops up. It's really trying right here to get a little void space right there. It's really trying to, but the question is, can it get it before it makes landfall here? That's the thing. I mean, it definitely is organizing. And could it organize to the point where it can get an eye before landfall? I mean, this low pressure is right here, and it's moving 2 miles an hour. So this landfall is going to be taking all the way. This is definitely going to be a landfall for tomorrow. That's for sure. But look at this cloud cover. Cloud cover all the way up into Atlanta, Georgia, guys. I'm seeing cloud cover right now. I'm actually seeing up to 15 mile an hour winds, and that's sustained. That's not gusts. I'm seeing 15 miles an hour right now, and Sally hasn't even made landfall yet, and I'm already seeing 15 miles an hour. So if it's bad enough, I will very well try to vlog. I will be at school when it's the worst, but I will try to vlog. If it's super bad here. I mean, there's a chance maybe school can get canceled on Thursday, depending if there's a lot of power outages and all that, but that'll probably be Friday, but that's beside the point. But really, this is looking very organized. I mean, you can definitely see that definitely some nice that counterclockwise spin right there. That's always going to bring that onshore breeze, and that's going to cause some big threats for storm surge, even for portions of Louisiana. Even though they have removed hurricane warnings for Louisiana or much of inland areas, there's still portions of the parish areas and the islands of Louisiana that have hurricane warnings. But New Orleans and areas of eastern inland Louisiana, you guys are now only in tropical storm warnings, which I did expect here. But definitely, Hurricane Sally's trying to get its act together right before landfall. It still has a chance to slightly strengthen a little bit more. 85, 90 miles an hour before landfall is likely. I mean, but really, like I said, the primary threat is really increasing is the flash flooding. So here's another look now at Hurricane Sally zoomed out. And I mean, look at this. This is bringing cloud cover all over the place. I mean, look, as far as North Carolina, we're seeing some scattered cloud cover. As you see, I'm seeing cloud cover right now there in northern Georgia, but obviously the dense cloud cover is really right here for Florida Panhandle, southern Alabama, even getting to southwestern Georgia. Really dense cloud cover. You know, the denser the cloud cover means the worse the conditions will get. I mean, these conditions are just going to get worse and worse. Obviously, the condition will get worse slowly. Except for the rain. The rain's going to be rapidly a threat every single hour. It's going to be even a bigger and bigger threat. But the winds, storm surge, that's going to be a slow process to the point where it actually gets super duper bad. Because obviously it's moving 2 miles an hour. But that's going to even make the rain threat worse. But as you see, this actually looks it looks organized. It definitely looks organized. But the thing is, it's trying to organize a good bit right now. And could it get a little eye before landfall? I mean, it has a good few hours, actually, like a good decent amount of time over water. So especially since it's now 2 miles an hour. So looking really organized though and bringing very widespread effects. So these are the winds here that were felt at 5:30. So this is actually over an hour ago, but these are the winds. These are the winds that happened at 5:30 Central Time. Actually, this is actually not an hour ago. This is 20 minutes ago. I forgot it's Central Time. So as you see, this is actually around 20 minutes ago, and they actually have in Mobile 30 miles an hour and 48-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I mean, that's actually decent for the fact that it's not too close. It's around 70-ish miles away from the coast here. As you see, definitely try to get the eye again. It definitely has a little air, that low pressure right there with no rain, but it's not popping up as an eye here. It's not popping up, not to the point where it's big enough, because there's still cloud cover over this. This is actually just rain, but there's cloud cover over this, over the low pressure, but there is still no rain. But look, so you guys are already getting 18 miles an hour winds and 32-mile-an-hour gusts. Even Tallahassee, 12 miles an hour. That's not too shabby. 20 miles an hour, even 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts for Panama City. But really, the worst of it is in Mobile right now. But as you see, these areas are under a big threat, and these areas in the northwestern quadrant, big threat for flash flooding, almost the highest risk. But really extremely heavy rain. The worst of the rain has yet to come, sadly. And as we go overnight, it'll be another overnight hurricane landfall. So here's looking now at the National Hurricane Center update at 6 p.m. As you see, tropical storm warnings maintained all the way up from the general areas of Grand Isle, Louisiana, all the way up into the Apalachicola and Panama City areas. But hurricane warnings maintained for all of the Mississippi and Alabama coast and portions of the Western Panhandle, including Destin, Pensacola, and West Palm Beach. Not West Palm, Fort Walton, and then Mobile, Biloxi, and as well as Gulfport under as well those hurricane warnings. But you see, tropical storm winds have been felt as far inland as areas of Mobile, even north of Mobile. We're seeing those tropical storm winds though for far eastern Louisiana, far southern coastal areas of Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. So this wind feels really, really large. It's about half the size or even bigger than Louisiana. But as you see, it's supposed to make landfall at around possibly maybe 8, 9 a.m. now. So it's definitely delayed a lot, but it's going to be going over. It's going to be going over into the Florida-Alabama state line at the tropical storm at 1 p.m. So as you see, it's going to be a very slow-moving storm, and that's going to be exactly why it's going to be such a big rainmaker as far as areas, even to my area. I'm actually just on the edge of the cone, but it's going to be a tropical depression, a full tropical depression. It's going to be fully tropical at even 1 a.m., passing by 1 a.m. Friday. So Thursday is going to be the worst day for rain. Thursday and Friday will be the worst day of rain for areas of the southeast, including Georgia, the Carolinas, even portions of Alabama there. And then you see that they become post-tropical depression as it moves into South Carolina there. But let's go and check out now the Hurricane Sally update here on the watches and warnings. And as you see, hurricane warnings maintained from Biloxi, Mobile, and Pensacola, the three biggest cities that are under hurricane warnings right now. And then we have the tropical storm warnings from Grand Isle, a lot of the parish far eastern area. So New Orleans, you guys are out of those tropical storm warnings. And then those tropical storm warnings go as far north, just to the county just south of Montgomery there. And then also as well in the red, Panama City. So if you're in the red, you're in the tropical storm warning. If you're in the purple, you shouldn't be home, really. You're under a hurricane warning there. We have state emergencies for Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. As you see, though, we are going to be seeing very widespread storm surge. Obviously, the totals have gone down, but still could see life-threatening storm surge for people like my age or people that are rather short, because 4 to 6 foot storm surge, 6 feet. I mean, that's 6 feet still pretty high. That's actually very high, enough to cover around half a first floor, or even a little higher than that. So I mean, it's definitely gonna be so significant. I mean, I wouldn't doubt if totals maybe go to maybe a little bit higher than that, due to the fact that it's slowing down significantly. I mean, there's a chance it can go back to it. There's a chance that it will continue to slow down up to 1 mile an hour. I mean, that would be absolutely mental. That'd actually possibly bring 3 feet of rain then, and that would be extremely historic. But as you see, storm surge going to be felt from Louisiana up to the areas just in the Big Bend area of Florida. But the worst of it obviously going to be near Mississippi, all the way up into the areas near Pensacola and Fort Walton. This would be the worst of it. So for Alabama coast, Mississippi coast, and far western panhandle, could be seeing anywhere from 3 to 6 foot storm surge, and that's obviously still life-threatening for some people. And then even 3 to 5 foot storm surge for portions of the eastern Louisiana coast. Let's go and take a look at models now on rain totals, and yeah. So here, look now at the European total precipitation. As you see, look at that. I mean, all the way from the Gulf Coast to portions of North Carolina. I mean, this is going to bring in, yeah, it's going to be a tropical depression, but it's going to bring a ton of rain. I mean, a ton. Actually, going to bring more rain than Tropical Storm Irma brought for me. Irma only brought 4 to 5 inches. This is forecasted to bring around 10 to 9 inches for me. But as you see, the worst of the rain, like I said, is going to be in that northeastern quadrant, which exactly by the northeastern quadrant is always the most dangerous part of the storm. The northeastern quadrant of the eye wall, of course. But as you see, areas for portions of Alabama and Florida are going to get the worst of the rain here. Going to possibly see up to 21 inches of rain, which is just under 2 feet. So I think the Europeans definitely underestimating the rainfall, especially since it is slowing down. This is actually not the latest update, so I wouldn't doubt they actually update to higher. But we do have the latest update for the GFS, but that's what the European is showing. And then it actually shows up to around 8.5 to 9.5 inches of rain. And look at this, European models actually showing over a foot of rain for just east of me near the South Carolina border, up to possibly over 13 inches of rain. That's exactly what I'm saying, guys. This is going to be mental as far as Georgia and South Carolina. This could bring in extremely high amounts of rain in a matter of 24 hours. And that's going to cause possibly big power outages here, because trees aren't like palm trees down up there. Obviously, yeah, palm trees here. Palm trees are known to be extremely flexible and extremely known and bound for hurricane winds. So yes, they call it power outages because of the winds, but you don't really see much power outages generally, unless it's like a huge hurricane. But really, the main reason that power outages are for hurricanes at the Gulf Coast and in general is because obviously the winds take down power lines. Not really because necessarily trees go on power lines, but when you're up there, when you're up here just outside the Appalachians, you have just pure woods, just woods, and trees. Like, not palm trees that are not used to winds like this. We can possibly see tropical storm wind gusts with up to a foot of rain in a matter of 24 hours. That's going to cause possibly big power outages across Georgia, South Carolina, and that's even going to bring in widespread power outages. I mean, this could be a big power outage zone. This is going to be a big power outage zone, of course, right here. I mean, power outage zone is going to be very widespread here. Here's another look at rainfall totals, and now you see, I mean, look, even Virginia, guys, going to be seeing effects from here. I mean, this is going to bring immense amounts of rain, but as you see, NOAA predicts over 20 inches of rain for areas in Alabama, and they also predict up to around 15 to 20 inches of rain here, which is extremely crazy. 15 to 20 inches of rain for portions of Alabama and even the western panhandle. They even predict up to 10 to 15 inches of rain for far areas near Auburn. I mean, guys, up to 15 inches of rain for areas near Auburn, Montgomery, extremely far inland. And then they're also possibly showing that brownish color, 7 to 10 inches of rain. I'm actually in that 7 to 10 inches of rain. That's going to bring in mental amounts of flooding here, even for areas near South Carolina. 7 to 10 inches of rain from a tropical depression, guys. 7 to 10 inches of rain from a tropical depression, because it will be a tropical depression once it moves in these general areas. It's going to be right here. So areas that aren't going to get directed by the low pressure are going to get the worst of the rain, because this low pressure is going to go like this. It's going to go like southern Georgia. That's what it's going to do. But the worst of it will be to the north of it, because that's where we have the worst of the rain, to the north of the low pressure. Here's like now at the next 3-day outlook for flooding or flash flooding. And as you do see, we have a high risk for flash flooding for a portion of the far western panhandle and far southern Alabama there. So Pensacola, Destin, Fort Walton, you guys are under the high risk for flash flooding. Mobile and all of Alabama coast is under that. And as you see, even far southern Alabama right there in the border for Florida. But look at this, a massive moderate risk, guys, as far inland as Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, that is really crazy. I mean, near Charlotte, almost near Charlotte. I mean, obviously Charlotte's right there, but near Charlotte, I mean, This is as far inland, guys, as North Carolina, and this is making landfall as going to be Category 1, and it's going to bring in a moderate risk for flash flooding when it's going to be a tropical depression. That's just showing you how slow it's going to be moving, how significant the rain is. As you see, though, all the way from the Mississippi coast there, portions of Atlanta, Birmingham, areas near Greensboro, Greenville, South Carolina. I'm actually under the moderate risk there. Atlanta, Columbus, Apalachicola. So if you're in a moderate risk, you guys can see up to 10 inches of rain there, and even a little bit higher in other areas. Here's looking now at the GFS, and this is actually the new 18Z update. This is actually new. As you see, they predict it's getting a little stronger. Like I've been saying, that they get it to 975 millibars. It's 979 now. So they show just slightly strengthening. And then look, that's going to bring extremely heavy amounts of rain for Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. I mean, I'm going to be in that red for a while. And then look, it's going to bring in extreme amounts of rain even for the mid-Atlantic. Let's check out the precipitation. This is actually the latest precipitation. Let's go and see what the GFS is showing. Oh yeah, they show well over a foot. Or sorry, the GFS shows well over 2 feet of rain. They actually predict around 28 to 29 inches of rain there. And as you see, GFS is predicting up to 7 to 8 inches of rain for my area just near Lake Lanier there. I mean, you can just guys see. I mean, look at that. That's extremely high amounts of rain there. I mean, this is going to be some very big flash flooding threats, obviously, here. Let's take out the H-Wharf model. They also predicted possibly slightly strengthening a little bit to 973 millibars, 972, making a direct landfall right into Mobile. And obviously, look at this rain. It's going to be immense. It's like the rain doesn't calm down at all. I mean, this is going to obviously also produce some big severe weather threats as well. Last but not least, we're going to check out the wind gusts. These are wind gusts, not sustained. These are wind gusts. As you see, the European model getting this up to possibly wind gusts up to 90 knots. That's wind gusts, 90 knots. And then the European also gets is strengthening before landfall and producing 95 knots for gusts. That's a category 2 wind gust there, almost category 3. And that's going to produce gusts up to 40 knots, which is 50 miles an hour for portions of Georgia. It's going to actually bring up to 35 knots for my area, so that's 45 miles an hour, and up to 50 knots. It shows up to 50 knots gust for areas near Atlanta, which is up to 60 miles an hour. That's going to be very mental. Atlanta has a lot of trees, if you don't know, but look at that. 43 knots, so 53 miles an hour for North Carolina. I mean, this is going to bring some really widespread threats, guys. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and bye, guys.